talk about is not just 3D technology, 3D printing and design. Talk about how it's changing our world, how we can change the way our students learn. I want to start with this. Let me see a show of hands. How many people know what this is? See, now there's a lot of hands. That's not fair because you guys are in education. I do this at a geek conference and nobody raises hands. This is a 3D plant cell. I didn't even know what one was until last year. My son in 6th grade had a project that he had to build, and the instructions were that he had to build a 3D plant cell. Yeah, he brought that home to me, and I'm seeing what they're telling him to do. Use Jell-O, clay, Play-Doh. The creative ones were doing it with cupcakes. So he's been watching me for all these years on what I do with design tools, and he's taken an interest. The image that you see on the left is the 3D model from the printer. Or, I'm sorry, from the design system. The image on the right is what was out of a textbook. So here's what we produced. This is a full 3D model, full color, and we put little flags on it to label all of the components. Again, I didn't know what this was or what these names were. I just helped him print this out. And he actually interacted with me in modeling this as well. What was cool about that is he was so excited about the technology to be able to take it to his class after he'd seen what his classmates had done. And you know how kids are. Look what I got. So the people that I've been working with in technology, in 3D technology, we're going to see some of the projects, some of the applications, and what I want to start with is introducing you to the levels of 3D printers. You hear this technology a lot, but what's never really explained is the levels, the cost. How do I get there? What does it take to get there? So let's start with what I call an entry-level 3D printer that's a proof of concept. Proof of concept is if I can design something on the screen, I can model it, I can look at it, well, I could print it out three-dimensionally, I can hold it in my hand, and I actually have a proof of concept. So what you get with this is low-end, low resolution. It doesn't give you the best reproduction of the model that you've created. Low impact, the parts are easy to break. If you drop them, they may explode on you. The color is somewhat limited on what we call these tabletop units. To give you a scope of this, this is about the size of a multi-tray laser printer that you would have in your office. About the same width, same height. The build envelope on this thing is about 6 cubic inches. So you can make a pretty reasonable part. And if you're creative, you'll print multiple parts and then assemble it, and you can get a big structure. The small parts is sometimes a detriment depending on what you're working with. The cost. This is pretty amazing for 3D technology today, 3D printer technology. You can actually rent this system for $80-something a month. With that comes all the supplies, all the materials that you want, that you can blow through. So my first thought was, wait, we're in education. I have this many students. Are they really going to let me do this? I don't know. Haven't challenged that yet. The next one is a mid-range 3D printer. The mid-range 3D printer, of course, starts to increase in functionality, meaning that you have more durable parts, some things that you could actually start assembling, inserting into existing hardware or existing applications. So they're more durable. With that, you get the higher resolution detail. Now, when I talk about resolution, we take 5 or 6 pieces of paper and you stack them up. That's a resolution of maybe 5 or 6 thousandths. These printers can print the detail of one sheet of paper. That much detail, that smooth. The low-end ones will print a curve, but it'll be stair-step, just like the old dot matrix printers used to do. That's kind of where the technology evolved. the materials themselves become more durable. They've introduced so many mechanical properties into these materials that can print. What you have in hard plastics and now medical grade plastics. Medical grade means that I can sterilize this material. So you'll see a video later of some applications for medical grade. The colors began to expand. And on this particular printer here, you can see the build envelope up on the top is actually larger. So you start to get bigger parts. You see the two cartridges? Those are cartridges. One's a build material and one's a support material. So this part here, and we'll have some close-ups of it later, is what we call a build platform. The way the printer works, it lays down some support material. It's a water-soluble material or a breakaway material that allows it to support a structure as it builds. These build by layers. We were talking about the sheet of paper. The resolution is how thin of a layer it could build. Now, this is a small size, and Lisa was asking for some large structures. We can actually do that. You'll see one of those here pretty soon. Now, here are some typical printers. A lot of times I'm asked not just about the size of the printer, but the cost. You can see here, as the build envelope increases, the cost will increase. The capabilities increase. But to have technology where you could build 3D parts that are physical size, 1-to-1, and then being able to take and post-process that same part, painted, high-impact paint, and chromed. Functional parts. This is from a mid-range printer. You don't have to go high-end for that. Look at this application. This is a bulb that is for a drop light. And every one of these components are assembled. Real threads, real interaction, real threads where I can even insert, again, existing hardware. Then you move into some of the higher end systems, they just get bigger. Again, the resolution begins to increase, and of course the cost will begin to increase as well. And these are still just mid-range. Do you know what my timer is, because that's not on? How much time do we have left?
I'll figure that out right now.
Okay, because I want to make sure, I've got a video that I want to show you guys. I want to make sure that we don't cut our time too short for that. So as we look at these high-end printers, this thing is about the size of a bank of refrigerators, 6 of them in a row. So you can imagine what a build envelope would look like with something like that. Build envelope, again, the size part you can make. As Lisa mentioned earlier, a single build includes movable parts, multicolor movable parts. So what is a single build? Well, okay, good. We can design anything. The limitations we have of design, and I do this in my design classes with my students. On day one, I ask them, what are our limitations of design? The real answer to that is cost. We can design anything in the world. Can we build it? Can we build it efficiently? Well, 3D printers have taken us beyond that and allowed us to build parts that you not only can see movable parts, but you can interact with them. So then if I build a part and I hold it in my hands and I'm using this part, and we can immediately see room for improvement, ways to reduce our cost. How did we do that before? We did that in computer simulation, and we did that in prototyping. Prototyping is expensive. This, when we talk about prototyping, we now have functional prototypes that we can put into the application and do some real tests. So we are reducing our costs. So this printer here, very high-end, very high resolution, high-impact materials, medical grade, extreme strength. Now we're entering the world of real physical properties, and these parts are printed for production. not large production, small production to begin testing and evaluation. So we've got the three groups. We've got proof of concept, we've got prototype, and then we've got functional prototype. That means we can put this into an application and we can begin testing it immediately because it has the physical properties of materials to allow us to do this. So I'm going to go through some examples of printed parts. And these come from all areas. These first parts are just some mechanical parts and assemblies. And remember, these assemblies can be printed in one print, or you can print multiple parts and put them together. These are just examples of parts that were from different students, different colleges, different programs. And we've duplicated these, and we've done quite a few of our own. These assemblies that you see here, University of Berkeley was developing some mechanical testing on 3D models for strength testing, and they built full-size scale of their designs to be able to do that. They were one of the first schools to get real heavy into this type of technology. Cutaway sections. This is awesome when you're doing any sort of instructional delivery. Our automotive program loves us when we can do cutaways for them and they have props, saving them from having to cut an engine in half. We can now give them these. Colors. We find that people respond better to colors. Obviously, it shows detail, allows you to recognize function. Now let's look at some of the fun application of this. Entertainment. I was talking to some of the guys who are setting up the stages. I've had students in my program from every profession. In the past few years, I've been seeing more people from the entertainment industry. They can concept models on computers with some pretty amazing software that's easy. Solid design software is somewhat cumbersome because it's dimensional driven. This is organic modeling. You can start digitally molding a shape and produce characters. The guys from the ASU production program come in and they build characters, they build stage sets, scale models of it, and they bring in their lights and they look at the shadows, and they're able to change that. Software is real functional in those areas, but the guys are saying, man, having a scale model of what we're doing on the stage is so much easier to follow and make changes as we're designing a production set. Architecture. Scale models of architecture, large buildings. This is what we're working on for Lisa. This was her new building. These designs here have come from architectural schools, architectural students. Any of the organic presentation on this is also printed on a 3D printer. They're very limited, or they're very, materials are wide open anymore. So that entire set, even the organic that you're looking at there, comes from a 3D printer. The other thing that's cool about architecture as well in the presentation is that you can take a lid off this thing. You can take the roof off. You can pull a room out. You can put furniture in it. You can put a staircase in it, and you can see if it's really going to work the way you designed it. The architectural guys love this the most. You know how they used to present their buildings? Balsa wood. Yeah. A question I always get is, wow, that's a pretty complicated part. How long does that take to build? Well, depending on your machine, depending on the build envelope you have, a part like that could be printed in 24 hours, just running consistent. Take your balsa wood guy and have him compete with that. Architecture really loves that because they can have a proof of concept for a customer in a day. It's usually about a day turnaround. This was actually a house from an architecture here in Scottsdale. Doesn't that look like an Arizona design? Yeah. This is actually a cool application that I've just seen recently in that they'll take a topographical view of an area and place a building right on it. stadiums, large structures. Civil engineering is the latest to get into this. I didn't even think about doing a three-dimensional topographical map, but that makes sense too. So here's the large envelope. We can build that building one piece at a time. I want to take the camera for real quick and see if we can get some close-ups on these parts here. Just real quick so I can show some of the detail that you have on a full print, where you have, again, it's a single print, movable parts. And when we do our break for lunch, these parts will be available if you want to come up to the table and take a look at them, take a closer look at them. The most amazing is the material capabilities. Hard finish, chroming. That's not new, but the processes have become extremely efficient. These are different colors that you can use for printers. You can mix colors, you can blend colors. Okay. So now I want to take the last few minutes that I have, and I want to show you guys a video of an application. As Lisa mentioned, I've been in prosthetics for the past 5 years, and I wasn't involved in this particular project. However, I knew of the organization that is doing this research. It's the same technology we have. It's the same printers we have at our college.
When she was born, her legs were up by her ears and her shoulders were internally rotated, and she had ulnar deviation on her hands and rocker bottom feet. The geneticist came upstairs and told us she had arthrogryposis multiplex congenita. They brought her legs down and they casted her, and slowly and surely she started to develop. Our first year with Emma, we found out that there was going to be a conference, and it was in Philadelphia.
It was an arthrogryposis family meeting in Philadelphia where I described the Rex.
We watched a presentation on the Rex.
And that's how it all started.
We ended up in Tarek and Whitney's workshop.
The Rex was attached to a stand, and she was able to put her arms into the Rex and for the first time be able to lift her hand up towards her mouth.
She just started, throwing her hands around and playing.
We were bringing candy up for her to eat, and we were bringing toys up there, and it was so fun for us to go up there and to see her play.
The existing Rex, it's all metal parts, and it's kind of big, and Emma was too small for that. So we required something light and small that would attach to her body and go with her. So that's where we had this Stratasys 3D printing machine, and we thought, well, we could print it out for her.
And he did it, and the weight difference is significant. And for a child who only weighs 25 pounds, it makes a big difference. Whitney and Tarek put their minds together and came up with a jacket, and they would put the Rex on that. And we're on our second jacket. She outgrew the first one, and now we're on our second one. And it's still evolving. It's still growing into this incredible prosthetic that helps her to use her arms.
Without the 3D printer, we would not be in a position we're in with these younger kids, making them a Rex device that can go with them.
This is one of those industries that matches perfectly with 3D printing, additive manufacturing, because we need custom everything.
I think 3D scanning and printing technology is the future for this field.
The ABS plastic that they use is the same plastic used in Legos. It's human-friendly, if you will. It's really strong and durable to handle the abuse. We can answer a need in a heartbeat. If
the Rex breaks, all I have to do is take a picture and email it to Whitney. He knows exactly what the piece is. He prints it out. I go to the hospital, or he's even mailed them.
I don't have to worry about lead time to machine something, order supplies. I can just basically go back to my program and print out another one.
And it's back together and it's working. When she started to express herself, we would go upstairs and we would say, Emma, we're going to put the Rex on. And she called them her magic arms. And everyone in the room cried.
We took it off of her on this one occasion to make some adjustments to it. And as we took it off, she cried out, "I want that." And we didn't think all that much of it. But when Mom started to cry, and we look over and ask Mom why she's crying, and she kind of takes a moment to recompose herself and tell us that that was her first complete sentence. To be a part of that, you know, a little special moment for somebody else, you know, can't help but kind of tug at your heartstrings.
Thank you. If you have any creative projects, any ideas that you want to do, we run co-op with our students, and they love to get involved in projects. And we have our new Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation, where we actually team up with industry and work on projects very similar to this as well. Okay, thank you.